Hello and welcome to this episode of the program. In this edition, we discuss current issues about Ethiopia. We have guests here and they reflect on Biden's executive letter, and we try to learn diaspora's contribution for their country and also about some other current affairs of the country. Welcome to the studio, my guests.
Thank you.
First self-introduction, please, from you first.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving us this kind of opportunity to express from my organization. My name is Alamayo Ababa. I came from Los Angeles, California, 10 days ago, and I am the Council for Ethiopian Diaspora Action, Chairman of the Board.
Thank you. And Zoru Mangeste, you are from the UK?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting for this interview. I came from the Great Britain, or from UK. By profession, I'm a journalist and I'm working with the media. I have my own radio and TV show in UK. Right now we came from the Great Britain for CEDA case because to make a good connection with the Ethiopian people and Ethiopian government, the diaspora. We came together. He's from America and from UK, all over the world. It's more than 500 people maybe will join us here.
That's great. Let's see first the issue from the White House. Joseph Biden, the president, has signed a new executive order on last Friday authorizing broad sanctions against those involved in the ongoing conflict in Ethiopia, as reports of atrocities continues to emerge from the Tigray region. It's also atrocities are from the Afar and from the Amhara region. The executive order it has saddened the Ethiopian government, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has responded boldly to it. Let's first begin with Joseph Biden's executive order to put more sanctions over Ethiopia. How did you find this letter? First, Mr. Almayo, please.
Well, as a diaspora, the American policy is based on their interest, and they want a government that has, that they have to obey, and they wanted to have a government that has to say yes for everything, and unfortunately, Ethiopia in the past 3 years has been just like the Adwa, they wanted to be independent, and then we have our own culture, we have our own governance, and then we cannot be listening the Europeans. They wanted to give us instructions and rules to abide their own way. So it doesn't bother me at this point, because always the presidents I have seen, I've been in America for 41 years, and I've seen 6 presidents, and then every president, they are really giving instructions, or but the Congress and the senators has to discuss with the issue before they do any kind of implement. So let's say, for example, if we look at Iran for the past 20 years, Eritrea for the past 20 years, including Syria for the past 10 years, they have had sanctions, and they have gone through this. And we shouldn't be very alarmed with the situation. The only thing is, Ethiopians, just like they have been united now, and then all diaspora people, if we are united, we can really cover that financial deficit by organizing the whole Ethiopian people in the diaspora.
Mr. Zaudu,
Yeah.
can you add something?
Yeah, already he mentioned Mr. Lamayo about the American section, because I know the Westerners and Americans all the time, they don't need Africans to be strong in politics and economics, especially Ethiopians. Because if Ethiopia is to become a strong country within economically and politically, they don't need that. You know, for 27 years, more than that, when the Wayanes region was there, the diaspora community was all the time, we demonstrated about the Ethiopian government was the past. There is no human rights, there is no democracy. We was all the time complaining about the government of Ethiopians, but anyone, Europeans and Americans, was silent at that time, especially on 1997, the Ethiopian calendar, or 2005, there was election. The Ethiopian people was voted for the opposition party for Khrushchev. Unfortunately, so I'm coming to that.
Okay.
But this
come to the current situation, and
that's why I'm coming.
Find the Westerners, the Western government, the UK, the USA.
Yeah.
We found them unfair in the reporting or in treating countries, particularly in treating the current government of Ethiopia and the TPLF gangs in the northern part of Ethiopia. And their reports were, their treatments were unfair.
Absolutely, that's right.
Yeah, I want to comment on that.
Yeah, because you know the main problem is, you know, the Westerns and the Americans, they don't need, as I said before, they don't need the Ethiopian is be strong. That's why the information, the BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, all the international medias was covering the false information for the public. That's the reason, because they have their own interest. So that is at the same time, the Ethiopian public diplomacy was very, very slow. We are not struggling to avoid that. So the section
we'll come to that point.
Okay.
The United States is supposed to be prudent and expected to play constructive role in Ethiopia's affairs. But when we refer the recent executive letter of Joe Biden, that has disappointed the government of Ethiopia, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has boldly responded to it, and he said, quote unquote, as a founding member of the United Nations and the Organization of African Union, now African Union, Ethiopia remains a proud nation that, through its sons, daughters, and kinship with other African nations, is determined to meet our current challenges with the resilient and indomitable spirit that defines this great nation. In general, how did you find his response, his letter to the White House?
Well, you know, U.S. has a strong national policy. Their national interest is, that's unwavering. It's they want the strategic Red Sea, and then they are working hard because, especially now, the Chinese are all over in Africa, in South America, in Europe including. They are really taking over the whole market. So, of course, we've tried to work with them, with the Western countries, but they took it so lightly. They wanted to do what they do in the past 20, 30 years by giving us wheat for, instead of supporting us in technology and transportation and, education. They haven't done that. What they wanted to do is they wanted to do it the same way when it's, in the 19th century or 18th century. Now it's 21st century. The world is one. So now Ethiopia is, you know, the pivot central point of Africa. So AU is here, and then the world, all these organizations are, I believe there is about 127 different civic organizations from all over the world in Addis, from what I heard. So they are losing that. So what they have to do is they have to push us to bend and work, you know, change our policy. So that's the whole thing. What we can do is we don't have to focus on their sanctions. We should work from inside and outside. Diaspora, we have about 3 million people, and 1 million in North America, and then half of them, 500,000 people, have the right to vote. So the U.S. always, within my 40 years, experience, when you go to the ballot booth, that's where they listen to you. So that's what we did. Of course, the current congresswoman, I live in her district, and then in the past 15 years, from when she was a civic, when she was a city council, we were helping her to get to this level to Congress level, and then we have helped her in finance. We have helped her in by preparing, knocking the door, and getting her, votes. So all of a sudden, when the Biden administration took power, because of the money that was stolen from the TPLF, that I believe it was $25 billion or more, they have, spread that money to the lobbyists, to the Congress, to the, to the CNN, and then, BBC and Washington Post, New York Times. They bought the whole system, even including in Europe, like, the BBC, Al Jazeera, and all those, including the parliaments of some of the leaders, Congress people in Belgium, Brussels, you name it, including the UN. Our Ethiopian health organization is working against us. So the whole world is against us. In a sense, it helped us to be united. So that's what we have to focus on, our own people that we have depended in the past 125 years through Adwa. This is the second Adwa. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Let's come to Mr. Zodu. Mr. Almayo has mentioned the international media who went against, who reported misinformation, disinformation to the outside world and misguided the Western government. What do you comment on those media who deliberately worked against this government?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Because they misled the world, this international mainstream media, especially BBC, CNN, and Al Jazeera. That's why the Ethiopian diaspora is all over the world. We're struggling to challenging this misleading information. So the Ethiopian diaspora already we started to do with different foreign languages. Let's say our media already we started with English. Already we connected with the new generation who born in the in UK. So the deliberations they did these things because they don't need to mention about the reality. Let's say in Tigray there is a lot of problems, but they are not mentioned anything about Maikadra, the genocide, because that is not their interest. So anyway, the Dr. Abiy Ahmed letter who sent to the White House is great, so wonderful, because Ethiopia is a very historical country in the world. We are it's an independent country. We are not accepting any junk messages from Europeans and Americans. So the diaspora Ethiopia who lived all over the world, we're working with the Ethiopian government, so we don't mind. The sanction is affecting the Ethiopian people and the government, but even if that's affecting the Ethiopian government, we are not accepting their junk messages, and they want to dominate us. So we're working together with this part.
All right.
We're supporting the Ethiopian government even all over the world, the diaspora.
That's great. Mr. Almayo, Ethiopians have the ability to look for reconciliation, to look for and to have their own reconciliation using their indigenous wisdom. It's believed that they have the wisdom to reconcile. And do you expect that, considering the existing situation, do you expect Ethiopian solution for Ethiopian problem? Will it be achieved?
When you say reconciliation with the outside world or reconciliation at the inside?
Internal. Their internal affairs.
Okay. Well, I think by, in the past 7-8 months, what we saw, the patience of the Ethiopian government have, given so much ample opportunity to the TPLF and, even the mothers and the religious leaders, even though we are outside of the, Ethiopia, we've seen how much effort they've done to reconcile, and then TPLF instead going back and kill our own army. So that's the trigger. So at this point, after all these lives, lost, I think TPLF has been a terrorist organization. So I don't think there is any more chance to reconcile at this point. I'm not in a government, but from my perspective.
All right. You mean that the opportunity given for the TPLF group is over?
Yeah. I mean, the Tigrayan people is our own people. I know it's innocent people, and then 13-year-old kids, having a machine gun instead of going to school. And then, the kids has been used for TPLF weaponry. So unfortunately, we saw all this misery, and our mothers and fathers, and but TPLF wanted to continue the same way like they did in the guerrilla fighting. So I think the chances are diminishing. So government action is required. If we don't have a peace, we're not going to have live alone diaspora Ethiopians. Even the foreigners wanted to invest in this country. They need peace. So we need peace, and then I hope our government will take this action and clear the path for.
What do you think would be the role of the diaspora in solving current crisis in the country?
Yeah, the diaspora is more powerful to supporting the Ethiopian government by on the economy based, because still we are supporting the Ethiopian government by sending some monies, but if in Ethiopia there is a peace and reconciliation is very important, but unfortunately the TPLF is already registered by the Ethiopian
Parliament.
They are a terrorist. So it's over. I'm sure it is not possible to make a discussion with this group, but it is possible to discussing with others, legal registered parties. There is so many Integrians registered legally, so they can discuss with them. But the diaspora community is still willing to supporting the Ethiopian politics, economy, and other things. That's why we came from Ethiopia, from all over the world, to say diaspora is willing to supporting the Ethiopian politics and the Ethiopian economy, and also to supporting the Ethiopian military defense.
Okay, Mr. Almayo, let us see. State formation is ahead of us. Ethiopians have successfully achieved, finalized almost the sixth general election recently. And state formation is ahead of us. And what do you expect in the foreign policy, or in general, in policy changes in the coming government?
Well, I can talk about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, about the diplomacy is failed in the past 3 years. So that failure has cost us so much, because TPLF using their money to buy the lawmakers and then to have lobbyists, and then we have failed. So what I want, in my opinion, our organization wants the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, everyone who is representing the country, I believe it's 60 embassies in the world. Number one, those people has to be educated, like political science is the basic. And I don't think most of those embassies in the past 3 years, they have that kind of background from what I see. And
if you have ever thought of policy changes from this government?
Yes, absolutely. We've been,
in which areas?
We've been making noise, in those areas. Even in every ministries right now, we've been about, 2 weeks, and we talk to, individuals, and then it will take time. I mean, it's not overnight. I know it took 27 years to damage one generation, and it will take another 5 to 10 years to change, to reform. So there's nothing overnight. Rome is not built in overnight. But some of the people, my Ethiopian fellows, they're expecting to have a change overnight. It's not going to happen. So we have to be very patient, and then we have to be, united. Like we have been united in the past 2.5 years. Now in the past 3 months, we see, a lot of working together, Madamar, and then even in the diaspora. So that's the only way to get us out from this chaos. And then,
okay, Mr. do you have something?
Yeah, already he mentioned about the public diplomacy as a foreign affairs had a lot of problems. It's failed, absolutely. Not 3 years, more than that. The TPLF, after they make the power, the Ethiopian public diplomacy is failed, completely failed. So the Ethiopian government has to do now, they have to send...
You mean that it has some weaknesses?
Not some weaknesses, a lot of weaknesses. That's why all over the world, the Ethiopian politics or the media everywhere, we cannot challenging even the small part of the juntas. That's the problem. Even the media itself. So they have to challenging the diplomats. Even one, they have the language barriers, the skill barriers. So the Ethiopian government has to do the proper professional person to send the diplomats.
Yeah, but we have this reform program of the foreign ministry.
Yes, the foreign ministers.
Now, in the past 10 days, there was training for
400
diplomats, and it's aggressively working on it.
That's great. Yeah.
I look for better achievements.
Yeah. Can I add something on that?
Please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the solution is we need to reform those young, skilled people to have three things. One is they have to be good in public diplomacy, and then in political science, and also it's very, very important to speak wherever. If someone is going to the Middle East, he needs to speak Arabic. If someone is going to Germany, he needs to speak Germany. So that way he knows the culture, the language, and everything. If you don't know that, you send somebody there, how are you going to expect to have, result? So that's a failure in the past 3 years. Because some of this, I know some of the, I can mention names.
We don't need to mention names.
Yeah. But I mean, there are people who are.
I think the problem is well identified by the government, and
exactly. So
it is restructuring.
Yes,
that is good.
Once we do that, things will. We can see a result. If not, we're not going to see a result, because a country cannot be, represented by,
All right, thank you. Alamayo Ababa from the USA and Zodu Mangiste from the UK. Thank you very much for your candid explanation.
Thank you for giving us this kind of opportunity to express our, allegiance. Thank you so much.
That's great. Well, dear viewers, that's wraps up the program in this edition. See you next time with yet another edition of the program. Thank you.